800-449-8255. Let's go to Gary in San Diego. Gary, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Thank you, and great job, Mr. Kuhner. You are really hitting the nail right on the head.
Thanks, Gary.
Yes, I do agree that it is imploding, and the reason it is because the American people are finally waking up to what I can only call, and many others say, is the biggest single financial con job in the history of the world. We are witnessing an orgy of corruption of a proportion that we have never seen throughout any of our planet's history. This situation is so utterly out of control, and it started in earnest under George Bush with the bailout fever. And now, as you mentioned, the cancer has metastasized. It's taken over our banks, insurance, auto. Now he wants to take over the little minds of our school children. They're going desperately with a knife to the heart with the healthcare system. And basically, I am stunned and amazed. And I'm hoping that the 9/12 protests that come on up next week with people all across the country with a march on D.C. as well, we should be demanding justice. These guys talk about social justice. We want our damn money back. We want the trillions of dollars that these guys have stolen from us.
No, exactly, Gary. Gary, you know, look, you have been betrayed by the political class in Washington, D.C., in the city that I work and live in. These are people, both Republicans and Democrats, who have perpetuated a giant con job upon you, the American people. And what they have done, and it began with George Bush, is they have spent your money, billions and trillions of dollars, down a rat hole. And these people are political gangsters. There's no other word for it. And they have no sense of patriotism, no sense of civic duty, no sense of what it is to be an American. The privilege and the honor of being an American. That we come from the greatest founding fathers in the history of the world. That our Constitution is the envy of the world. And instead of cherishing that and nurturing that and cultivating that, they have thrown it all down a gutter into a sewer. And so what you've been seeing under Bush was we saw deficit after deficit after deficit. We saw an attempt to give amnesty to illegal immigrants. And then when we got hit with an economic crisis, it was a recession brought upon by massive corruption on Wall Street. And that corruption was done by people at Lehman Brothers and Goldman Sachs. And these bankers made out like bandits. They have made literally tens of billions of dollars on your back. And so they took our money to bail them out. And the argument they kept using was, again, it was a scare tactic. It was they're too big to fail. If they fail, the entire country will collapse. The entire world will collapse. And they did that to try to get you, to browbeat you, to intimidate and scare you, just as the Nazis did, frankly, and as the communists did. That's all they kept doing. It's propaganda after propaganda, where they stand there and they try to scare you out of your tax money. And now we have to live with the wreckage. No matter what happens, there is no getting around this fact. Under this administration, Bush was bad, but believe me, he was nothing compared to Barack Obama. Under this administration, he is now planning to spend more money, literally in one administration, than all 43 previous presidencies combined. We are going to add, and listen to me very carefully, $10 trillion with a T of debt onto our children and our grandchildren. We are bankrupting ourselves. No country can dig out from under this kind of mountain of debt. This is what this man has saddled us with. And then you have that moron. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, this is almost the Twilight Zone. This guy, Van Jones, to stand back for a second. He is the advisor to the President of the United States, the leader of the free world. People, you don't understand something. I know you're living in Texas, you're living in Wyoming, you're living in Utah as you listen to me right now. You got problems, you got concerns, you got to feed your children, you got to keep your jobs, you got to pay your bills. But I'm telling you, one of the privileges of working at the Washington Times is I get to travel. And I've traveled all over the world. I've been to Europe, I've been to Asia, I've been to Latin America, you name it, I've been there. We are looked upon as literally the citadel of civilization. We stand for all that is good and free in the world. We are the last hope of mankind. People yearn not only to come to this country, but to be like this country. When you have an advisor to the President of the United States, I'm not talking about the President of Russia or Tanzania or Bangladesh, but to the United States of America, the man who was responsible for creating so-called green jobs, honestly believe that 9/11 was committed by the American government, that it was an inside job, that we knew about it, and that we allowed it to happen. This man is insane. And that he still is in the White House. That this man has not been fired. I mean, this to me is a scandal. It is unbelievable. The inmates are running the asylum. There's no other way to put it. And what's happening as the inmates are running the asylum, I have to be frank with you. We are losing the war in Iraq. We are losing the war in Afghanistan. Our enemies are getting stronger and emboldened. Communist China is buying up our debt. We are now becoming owned. We are going the way of the Roman Empire. We are sliding into decay, chaos, and decline. And now we conservatives are finally rising up. I have been waiting for this sleeping giant my entire life. And finally, we are making our stand, and we are saying enough is enough. And Obama's poll numbers are plummeting. And I have one word for all these liberal thugs. You have had your way, and you have feasted upon the American body politic, and you have feasted upon our money, and you have swindled us and lied to us. But now the people have risen. And now with one voice, believe me, with one voice, we are speaking up. And come November 2010, we have heard from you, and you have now occupied our government. But pretty soon you will learn one thing about America. This is still not socialist Europe. This is still not communist Russia. This is still not communist China. Here we have something called elections. And you work for us, and we're going to kick you out of office. Trust me, we are going to rise up, and we're going to vote every one of these traitors and every one of these gangsters and swindlers out of office. Tim in Sacramento, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Thank you very much, Jeff. I wanted to weigh in on your first topic about Michael going over to London and present. I think, yes, he should engage this debate. Dr. Savage is a critical thinker. He's got discernment. He has integrity. And in essence, he could take this mess and turn it into a message. What we're witnessing is a living instrument here, and it's a case study in action. And actually, I'm applying this with some of my students to be studying this very topic and look at all the ramifications of it and the balance and how his fight is going to help us learn for the future.
Tim, I completely agree with you. Again, this is a very personal decision. I don't want to seem like I'm pushing Michael to do anything. This is a very difficult decision. I mean, you have to stand back for a second. This is a man, it's more than just the fact that his reputation has been slandered, libeled, smeared. It's his own personal safety. When you are banned and blacklisted from the British government, from British soil, because according to the British government, now remember this, we know it's a sham and a fraud, but to the average person in the UK who's never heard Michael Savage, who's never listened to him, listened to his show, read any of his books, doesn't know him from a hole in the wall. All he knows is this guy's a hate peddler. This guy, according to the British government, is basically the equivalent of a Russian Nazi, of a Hamas, Hezbollah murdering scumbag. He is the equivalent of a jihadist, of a terrorist. Now, if I'm some deranged left-winger, I'll be very honest with you. I'm some crazy guy in an asylum, and I'll be very honest with you. I've been to England many times. To me, half the population seems deranged. I'm not going to lie to you. I met a German guy once. We were just chatting, and he said to me, is it just you? But I really don't like a lot of people in England. I said, I'm with you, buddy. I'm really with you. He said, you know what my theory is? I said, what? He said, I think it's mad cow disease. All their cows are mad cow disease. I think they eat too much of their own beef, and it's infected their brains. I said, you know what? I think you're right. I really do. But let that go. If I'm some deranged leftist in England, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to strike a blow for all that's good and decent. I mean, I can't kill these jihadists, or I don't care about these jihadists, but I can get this radical right-winger, this racist right-winger who's supposedly calling for the murder of Muslims. In other words, he is living under danger. They have put a massive target on his back. That's why he not only has grounds for a lawsuit, I believe, not only on freedom of speech grounds, he has a lawsuit on personal security grounds. They have put him in personal danger. They have behaved recklessly and irresponsibly. And any sane, healthy society can see this. I mean, look, has he planted bombs? No. Has he even said to plant bombs? No. Has he beheaded anybody? No. Has he called for anybody to be beheaded? No. So why is he on that list? Now, I don't want to berate this point, but the question, this is if Michael is listening. Here's the question I would pose to the Cambridge Union, and it's a question they can't answer.